I'm Adam Cheney. I'm the development director for Elijah Rising, and I have been with the organization. Well, that's a long story. I helped start the organization back in 2011 and served as the mobilization director, the awareness director, and then was a consultant for the organization for a little bit. But then I left the organization for about 4 years, and I just came back to Elijah Rising in a new role as development director in July of 2019. Great question. So I was born and raised in Houston, lived in Houston the majority of my life, and then went kind of on a journey with the Lord. Left Houston for about 6 months and was in a prayer meeting in Kansas City, Missouri, and somebody started praying about the issue of sex trafficking, which I'd never heard of. Like those two words together hadn't registered for me ever. And so I was like, wow, that sounds like a bad thing. And they were praying about it, and the guy who was leading the prayer that day started praying for Houston, the #1 city in the nation for sex trafficking. And that was the kicked in the gut moment for me. Being born and raised in Houston, my family's here, is educated here, did church life here. My whole life was in Houston, and I did not know that my city, my streets, my people, my family, my home was known around the world as the #1 city in the nation for trafficking. And so I got real upset about that and moved back to Houston, gathered with a few friends and said, hey, do you know about this issue? A couple of them did, a couple of them didn't. And we felt like we had to do something. And the only thing we could come up with in the moment was, well, let's just see if people want to pray about this. So we got together, had a prayer meeting, and there were about 10, 15 people that first time. The second time we held a prayer meeting, there were somewhere around 30 people. And that just continued to grow. And as we continued to pray about the issue and learn about the issue, we quickly realized that, if I didn't know, there's probably tens, hundreds of thousands of people in this city that don't know. So we started focusing on raising awareness about the issue of trafficking. And then from that point, we decided, you know what, we really got to do, prayer's great, raising awareness is great, but we really got to do something practical. And so we started doing direct outreach to individuals who are being exploited here in the city. And so that's when the intervention work started. And pretty quickly after that, we decided, man, we need to file a 501c3 because we're actually making an impact and making a difference. And so Elijah Rising was born in December of 2012. Yeah, well, obviously it's tragic, right? I mean, every day we face some of the worst injustices that can be perpetrated against a group of people and against individuals. The stories we hear are heartbreaking, infuriating, and scary sometimes, honestly. That's tough. That takes a toll when you're confronting that type of darkness and injustice on a daily basis. It takes a toll on you. So we all really work on our mental health. We all see therapists, and we have to continue to refocus on the Lord and on our team and on the good things, on the positive things, on the positive outcomes, the breakthroughs, the success stories. We have to continue to just reframe the issue, but that's tough. And the other thing that's really hard about this work is kind of the other side to the same coin. And what I mean by that is it's really easy to get desensitized to this work. People. I talk about sex trafficking all the time. If it's your first time hearing about the issue, you're probably having a kicked in the gut feeling like I did. I don't have that feeling all the time anymore, right? And so, again, it's this work of not getting calloused to the issue, but being reminded constantly that these are individual humans made in the image of God that are experiencing some of the worst oppression and injustice anybody can experience, and just constantly humanizing the issue. And then balancing that with good mental health practices. So those two things I think are probably the most difficult. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stories like that. I'm trying to land on one in particular. I think for a long time, Elijah Rising was committed to prayer, awareness, and intervention. Like we just decided that was our lane. That's how we were going to combat trafficking, not just here locally, but just our wider ministry. We were going to pray about sex trafficking. We were going to raise awareness, and we were going to do direct outreach. And that worked. I mean, that was good. That was solid. That was working for a while until it worked too well, you might say, and women actually began exiting their exploitation. And suddenly we realized, wow, there's not really any place for them to go. There's not a place to heal. There were places. There weren't enough places for them to go, for them to heal, for them to recover, for them to experience restoration, to be provided the tools that they needed to be able, as I said, to heal and, kind of re-enter society in a healthy way. And so there was a moment in about 2015, there's a moment in 2015 where one of our board members said, there's a piece of property out in this rural area, an hour outside of Houston, that I think you guys should look at. And so they said, we think it's for Elijah Rising. And so we went out there, staff went out there, took a look at the property, 84 sprawling acres, multiple structures, numerous single-family homes on the property, and it had kind of just been sitting abandoned for almost a decade. And we went out there and we saw it like, wow, this is impressive, but I don't think this is us. And so we kind of kept processing that and praying through that, and the Lord just really showed us and dropped it into our spirits and our minds and kept hearing it from other voices that it's time for Elijah Rising to step into the gap. It's time for us to step into the gap of long-term restorative care for survivors of sex trafficking. And that was the property that it was supposed to be done at. So that's great. We said yes to the Lord, okay, but the deal is we can't afford that piece of property. 84 acres, are you crazy? So God, if this is really what you're calling the organization to do, to fill this gap, to provide restorative care, you got to figure out a way to help us grab that property. And sure enough, we sent them a lowball offer, like half of what the property, the asking price, and they immediately took it. And we didn't really even have the money to fulfill that offer at the moment, but we said, look, if you'll give us some time, we'll raise the money. And within a few days, we had the down payment that we needed in full. And then within 2 years, we had the property paid off in full. And now it is home to the Elijah Rising Restorative Care Campus, and we have served near 20 survivors on that piece of property since 2015. And we will continue to grow and expand. There's one home that's operating there now with residents, and we see it. We want to be a destination for long-term restorative care for survivors of sex trafficking, and that's what we'll do out there. So I think that's a big turning point in the life of Elijah Rising. It's a big miraculous kind of God moment in the life of Elijah Rising as well. We never saw that coming. We never could have done that on our own. Honestly, the best moments, the most joyous moments, the moments that make you happy cry, right? Those are the moments that are spent with our clients. Whether it's celebrating a birthday for the first time because they'd never been able to celebrate a birthday before, sitting around a table enjoying a Christmas meal and hearing one of our clients say, I've never had this before. I've never had a family to sit around a table and enjoy a Christmas meal before. The residents that we get to interact with and experience those moments that most of us, I think, take for granted in our normal day-to-day lives, to be able to sit there and have those moments with them, it just makes it all worth it. And it makes it just real. Sometimes sitting at my desk, writing grants and filling out paperwork for the federal government, like those moments are just blah. But when I feel unmotivated, what makes me keep going and doing that hard work is remembering the smiles on the faces of the women that we serve. Houston has been known and has been labeled the #1 city in the nation for sex trafficking. And whether or not that's true based on the statistics any given year, at Elijah Rising we believe that Houston can be the #1 city in the nation for solutions to sex trafficking. And Elijah Rising is building solutions that will last for generations and leave a legacy long after Adam Cheney is on staff, long after our staff is here doing this work. We want to do this for hundreds of years until it's over, until trafficking is ended, until it's not a problem anymore. And so that's what we're building for. And that takes a ton of resources. And we can only do that with the help of partners from all sectors of society, whether that's the person sitting in the pew at their church, whether it's the business owner, whether it's the volunteer, the stay-at-home mom, the oil executive, no matter the pastor, no matter who it is, everybody has a place in this fight, and that's contributing financially, but it's also giving of your time, your effort, and just telling somebody that, hey, there's a problem, and there's some people that are working on solutions. All of these ways help, and all of these ways to partner with Elijah Rising will help us continue to build out those solutions for long into the future. And so my encouragement is to just be a partner with Elijah Rising in whatever way works best for you, because every single one of those ways, whatever you can think of, it counts. It makes a difference. You have a place in this fight.